with Amber Iman. Pew, 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 pew. Gotta get those air horns in.
Who all gonna be there?
How are you doing today, sis?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're hanging in there.
We
There's a struggle in the air today.
Yeah, we here. But this is a highlight of my day, so
This is the highlight. So right from the top, we're just gonna have you quickly go through so that we're not those people running down your credits. We're gonna have you quickly go through what's important about yourself to you.
What's important to me? I'm Amber Iman. I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a Howard University grad. I've lived in New York 8 years. I've been on Broadway a couple times. I love to tell stories. I am an activist. I have a nonprofit called Broadway Advocacy Coalition. I co-founded Black Women on Broadway, an online platform. I'm an only child.
Important. Yes.
I'm single. I'm ready to mingle, and my favorite color is yellow. Those are the.
Hey!
yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are you good?
Today I'm good. I think. Yeah.
I think. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair and fine.
In your intro of yourself, you said you are an actor, you are a storyteller, also an activist. We're at home in the pandemic on Zoom. But how has the pandemic changed your work so far?
You know what? I was just saying, like yesterday, how grateful I am to be in the pandemic, because it has really allowed me space, time, and opportunity to like think and dream and imagine and just create things that have always like been an idea that I flirted with or something that I was intrigued by, but now I have nothing but time and opportunity. I'm grateful for stillness because I don't do well sitting down. I don't know how to sit down. And this, I have to sit down. Like, there's nothing else to do, bitch. You gotta sit down. So I'm like grateful for that. I am, and it was in stages. Like the first couple months, I was not here. It took me probably until June, July-ish to really want to start like tapping in and listening and being still, and just giving myself the chance to try. Just to try anything. What if I try to write this? What if I try to imagine that? So it's been such a great opportunity for me to like check off some of those things that are on that like list of things to do before you die, or list of things to just try or attempt. So I'm grateful. Like I'm trying to see, once the world opens back up, how I can continuously give myself this type of space and opportunity to really create and tell my own stories and just to try stuff. I feel like I don't always try shit, or I'm busy, or there's no time, or I'm so tired from doing all the other things that we have to do, all the job shit and the just living in a busy ass city and never getting to see people or do things. Like I never have time, and I want to find a way to incorporate this time that we have. Like in my life, I kind of would like once a month to have like a 3-day quarantine. Just like every 28 days, just 10 days where I'm like, bye, I ain't seeing y'all. I'm sitting on my couch and I'm doing my stuff. So yeah, I definitely want to try and figure out how to move a little bit more like this in my everyday life, because it's just giving me a chance to imagine and create things that I never would have.
Yeah, I definitely echo that feeling too. And I know at the top of the pandemic and quarantining and all of that, I definitely had to pull away for a couple of months. And I mean, you have brought to the world, though, in this pandemic,
Black Women on Broadway.
Women on Broadway, and then the Broadway Advocacy Coalition. And it's like, did you wake up one day with the energy to move forward with that, or how did those next steps of moving out of the first couple months where you kind of have to rehabilitate, how did you get into working on those projects?
Well, the thing about Black Women on Broadway is we had started planning about a year and a half ago, but from a different angle. I'm sure you all know the Black Women in Hollywood brunch, right? And it's been happening for 13 years. And every day I would wake up and be like, today is the day Essence is going to announce the Black Women on Broadway brunch. Today is the day. I feel it. And for 13 years, no. And I'm doing everything on my end. Danielle Brooks and I are like trying to reach out to Essence, get in contact, and she has all the plugs. And she was like, I talked with a woman, and there was no like, oh yeah, that wasn't the thing. She was like, oh, that sounds like a lovely idea for you all. We're like, okay, sis. Enjoy. So we were like, you know what? That seems pretty on brand. If we want to have a moment like that, we're going to have to create it ourselves. So we started originally, our idea was the brunch would be our inaugural event. And then we had a 5-year plan that would include mentorship and scholarship and all these other things. So we were planning the brunch was going to be April of 2020. And the crazy thing was, Danielle had her baby, and I was working, and Jocelyn Beal was working, and we said round about January, let's push it to 2021. And I am so grateful that we did, because no down payments went out. Like, we had gone to venues and we started looking at places, but no money had been spent. We had gotten partnerships, sponsorships, but it was so early that I am so grateful that we canceled it, because we wouldn't have been having it anyway. So while we were quarantined, we had a moment of like, well, what can we do now? How can we keep the momentum up or use this downtime to plan? And just through a series of conversations with the girls, I was like, well, everybody's at home on the couch. So maybe we go backwards. Maybe we use this time to build the platform, build the followers, let people know what Black Women on Broadway is about, so that when the world opens back up, the brunch isn't inaugural, but it's like, look at all the stuff we accomplished during quarantine. Look at all the relationships and the networking and all the things that happened. So the brunch will be like a celebration of everything that we did during the pandemic. So the ladies and I, this is something I just believe in myself. I never want to create in a vacuum. Like, I don't believe in sitting in my house and coming up with an idea. I need to like talk to the women in my community. Is this what you want or need? And I polled like 15 random girls in my phone. And I was like, sis, what do you need? What don't you see? What don't you have? And the responses were like, financial literacy. We don't know nothing about money. And I was like, yes. Somebody was like, I know how to beat my face to be Simba or Mufasa, but I can't beat my face for a self-tape. Sis, that's real. So like all these ideas came in, and I was like, y'all, let's just have a day. And Danielle was like, let's have a theater appreciation day. So it was just Black girls talking to Black girls, which is, how most magic in the world is created. And we just were like, let's just do programming. Everybody's going to be sitting on their couch for the next year, pretty much. So that's how we want to use our time. And it's taken off in a way that I just looked at the ground, like we have almost 6,000 followers in like 2 months. Like, people reaching out, people are talking to us and asking us for things. We're doing a writer's workshop. Jocelyn Beal is going to teach how to write for TV, film, and theater. And then we want to do a producing workshop after that to really help Black women understand what it means to produce. So it's like, we just want to give people the tools that they need to succeed and create, because there's so little of that. There's so many people who are like the gatekeepers of the knowledge and the information. And it's like, okay, well, let's figure out a way to disseminate this information to the Black women, because we magic and we out here doing it and creating it, and we get things done. Yeah. Like, that's the work of Black Women on Broadway happened that way. Broadway Advocacy Coalition, we've been around for 4 years, but the past couple of years, our work has been away from Broadway. We have a J-term course at Columbia University. We've been working a lot in the Bronx with the Bronx Defenders, or there are a lot of different organizations that we have partnered with that are away from Broadway. And the crazy thing about it is, I sent Britton Smith, our president and my co-founder, a text, and I was like, so what are we going to say on the BAC page? And I literally meant like a post, y'all. I meant like a Black Lives Matter, like, just so people don't have no confusion about where we stand. Like, clearly y'all don't think we don't stand, but just, and he heard me, but he thought I meant forum. And I was like, nigga, I didn't mean a forum. He was right. And knew something was going to happen. But us planning the 3-day forum just came out of us watching the community, listening, watching people not do anything, watching people be real radio silent. And BAC did what BAC does best, which is get people in a room together and start conversations. So I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't like exhaustion, because the forum and the Black Women on Broadway event, they were 2 weeks apart. So I was planning both at the same time. I wasn't sleeping, but there was just something in my spirit that was like, let's go. And that's how it happened.
Yeah, so thank you for doing all the pre-work, you and your team. But I guess just to go back really quick to the top of that question, then what new things emerged from you once you kind of took your rehab for yourself, since this was all kind of pre-existing for you?
Well, I have a short film that I wrote in 2018, right? And it is still getting into film festivals and it's still winning awards, which is really cool. And I have a friend who works in casting who was like, okay, Amber, everybody's sitting on the couch. I want to get you some meetings with the heads of development at production companies. Crazy. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that is, but sure. So at the top of the quarantine, I had 2 very big meetings where I'm just like sitting with the head of development of 2 very lovely companies on Zoom, and they watch Steve and they love it and they want to get to know me. And both teams asked me like, well, what else do you want to do? What do you want to do moving forward? And I said shorts. I was like, oh, I'll write more shorts. And I only said that because it was comfortable. Like, I've done a show, I've won awards, I know I can do it. And they were asking about pilots and TV, and I was like, no. And the only reason I was saying no was fear. And they both said, well, you know, if at any point you have a pilot or you have treatments or anything that you want us to read, send them to us. We want to read them. And I got off that phone call and I was like, I acknowledge that I'm afraid. I have no experience writing for TV or film, and that scares the bejesus out of me. And that probably means that that's what I need to do next. So I was like, okay, let me flirt with the idea of what an Amber TV show would look like. And I wrote a pilot. I wrote 30 pages of a comedy dramedy situation, which would have never happened. And I mean, I would sit out on my front lawn. I got lawn chairs like for the beach, and I put them in my front lawn in Georgia. And I'm sitting out there with my feet up, eating watermelon on my computer, trying to write a pilot. And I would pick it up and put it down for 3 or 4 days at a time. I would go plan for Black Women on Broadway and come back, go do BAC work, come back. I would just keep coming back to it. And I realized that writing the pilot was like my release. It was my therapy. It was like something that is for me. Everything else I have to show up for all these other people, BAC, BWOB, all these Bs, it's all these deadlines. But the pilot was like my thing for me, and it brought me so much joy. And my producer director, who I've worked with for a couple of years, he read it and he was like, oh, bitch, you done wrote a pilot. Like, so, you know, so now we're talking like producing it, maybe what that would look like. And then there came this TV writers workshop pilot contest. Like, you enter to win the chance to be among 10 people who get to be involved in a 4-month writers workshop, how to write a TV show, how to write a pilot, how to produce, how to pitch a series. Then I entered last minute, literally the day before the deadline. And I was like, I have no history in TV. I know nothing about writing for TV. I'm not going to get this. So I used it as a writing experiment. Like, what is the prompt? Okay, what do they need? Let me just see. There were 1,300 people that entered and 58 semifinalists. And I'm one of 58 semifinalists. So, like, crazy. Yeah. No experience writing for TV. And I don't even know. I know my application was trash because I deleted it as soon as I sent it. Trash cluttering up my MacBook. Let me delete her. And so to know that out of 1,300 people, y'all, I was one of the 58. It's just like, so many things have been like affirming, like, okay, sis, you wrote a pilot. Okay, sis, the people want you to be a semifinalist in this thing. It was like, you're doing the right things. Keep moving in this direction. So it's just really, this time has really taught me that like I might know what I'm doing. I'm one of those people who's old school, and I feel like, well, I don't have a degree in writing, so I'm not really a writer, which I have to get out of. I just respect the art of it and the craft of it so much. And I know to be an excellent writer, there are certain things that I need to sit down and read a book about. Let's be real. But it doesn't mean that I don't have a natural gift and a good ear and a good eye. So I'm literally trying to just be gentle with myself and encourage myself to keep moving and know that you're clearly doing something right. So that's where we are.
Definitely.
On the note of moving forward, when you catch momentum with something, with your own projects, with Broadway Advocacy Coalition, with Black Women on Broadway, there are a lot of changes that are being discussed and demanded, some of which take time when you're talking about systemic issues. What changes do you think we can make right away? Like, there's no excuse to wait on the progress.
I think the biggest change is the way we show up for each other in the rehearsal room.
Ooh, yes.
People are now, there's an awareness that has never been before. And I think you're going to see people in rehearsal rooms like with eyes aware and watching. Like, now I'm not saying we're going to wait on some racist shit to pop off, but you know what I mean? There's going to be that energy of, I wish a bitch would, because I think we will feel the power of a united force of people who have no tolerance for BS. I think white people are standing by. I think Black people are at the ready to show up and hold people accountable and call out BS and ask questions that people have not felt empowered to do. People have not felt like they had the agency or the vocabulary. So I feel like that is something immediate, in that we can stand with each other, show up for each other, listen and lean on each other. I think a lot of that is missing. We say the words family and community, but we don't really mean that shit. And I think when we go back to work and we go back into the real world, I think that will be something that's immediate. It's just the way we hold people accountable, and the fact that we're not gonna be tolerating the same shit we were tolerating before. I think like that shit is gone. Like that's the thing that I think we won't ever see again. Some of these other changes that we're trying to do in breaking down and rebuilding infrastructures, like those things are going to take years. But I think we're going to start just seeing an awareness and hearing voices that have not spoken up and seeing that presence. I just think we're going to feel presence in rehearsal rooms of like, try it if you want to, white people. Try it.
Please, leaning in.
It is very that.
I wish
you would.
I wish. Also, with the community, like people relearning the words family and community. I know that you've been a part of facilitating a lot of conversations that were particular to the people in a certain community. Like sometimes this conversation is only for Black artists. Sometimes this conversation is only for Black women. And that makes me curious as to what conversations do you think need to happen immediately within these communities so that we can, push forward on other issues with more of a united energy?
We had a forum about, I hate the phrase, but like bridging the gap, because there was a lot of unrest within our community. And there was a feeling of like, right now is the time for white people and systemic racism. We can't worry about this. And it's like, no, we need to be having all these conversations at the same time.
Yeah.
There was a feeling of a separation in the Broadway community. And I mean Broadway universal. So theater, regional, doesn't matter where. But there's this like feeling of elitism. And there's a feeling of young artists not having access to certain things or lack of education about certain things. And I mean, it all stems from racism and white supremacy. It all stems from us being pitted against each other. There's colorism. There's all kind of things that are in there that we never take the time to really address. And so what I was hoping that people took away from that forum was like, first of all, we all need to be doing work on ourselves. We all need to be in somebody's therapy, in somebody's yoga, in somebody's whole food eating vegetables, because the problems that we see are because people aren't doing their own work. Like if you not showing up as a whole human being, if you're not showing up with your mantras and your peppermint oils and your things together, then it's like a virus. You come and spread your unhappiness and your anger and your vitriol. You spread that through a cast. You spread that through a rehearsal room. So like number one on my list was take this time, y'all, to figure out y'all shit. Speak to your demons, call your mama, forgive your daddy, whatever you need to do to work on being whole. That is number one. Secondly, forgive these people that you mad at. So-and-so didn't speak to me at this audition at Chelsea 3 years ago. What? People are really now holding on to the fact that she breathed in the same elevator as Cicely Tyson and she didn't invite you to the house for dinner.
It's true. It's true.
I don't be speaking to me at Chelsea.
Y'all, the amount of petty that I have just had to hear and be like, first of all, you don't know the difference between personal and systemic. Like that ain't, like that's personal. And that has to do with you. There's something in your spirit that you mad at somebody who didn't speak to you for 3 years. That's something you need to work on. So I just first want us to take like let's just do an evaluation. Get self together. And then as we go into our small community groups, our small circles, how we communicate with each other is very important because it's all connected. How we communicate in our personal lives is how we communicate in these rehearsal rooms. And the things that hem us up in our chest, in our personal life, you bring that into the room with you. So I think in the Black community, it's a lot of like internal work because it's really easy to point fingers. It's really easy to talk about what she isn't doing and well, why she got that gig and why all of it is because self is unhappy. Self is unfed, unchallenged, whatever it is. And so my big thing is like, those are the conversations we need to be having. We need to be challenging each other, calling our sisters and loved ones out when we know that they ain't acting right. Like pull your sister to the side lovingly and be like, sis, I love you, but that was foul. Yeah. We need to figure out a better way because it's like the work we do at home will prepare us so that when the world opens up and we go back into the world, we're operating out of love. We're operating out of health and wellness. We're operating out of awareness. It's like that was the root of everything. Is like we need to tap into here. We need to be reading our books and doing our research and going to our therapy so our spirits can be right. Hello?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let me just take a breath. You're absolutely right. I'm gonna switch this up a little bit. Amber, we don't know each other personally. We will, but we don't know each other personally right now. But I saw you perform in Shuffle Along on Broadway. And I don't even think I was living in the city yet. I think I just took a random trip to the city and was staying in a hotel alone. It's another I Saw This Alone story. And I happened to catch one of the very ending performances of Shuffle Along with the full pregnant Audra. I just want to share with our audience, you are such a graceful, seasoned performer, and I don't even say seasoned as like an speaking of ages,
elder.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just like you said with your writing, the talents are there. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you're dying to get back to the stage, and so I'm curious, what do you miss most about live theater right now in its absence?
I miss the people. Like. There are actors who are like, I miss playing that character. Like, I miss her so much. I don't miss characters. That's weird. It's weird to me. I'm like, what? I miss her so much. I just miss her in my life. I'm like, okay. I've never been there. Yeah, I'm not on that. But my people. I miss the camaraderie. I miss, after the gig going to get a fry and everybody sitting around having a margarita. I miss being in the room working together. I miss the collaboration. I just miss Black folks being together and creating magic. You talked about Shuffle Along, and I think back to that time. I mean, I spent the first 2 months of Shuffle Labs just confused as to why I was there. Just like the amount of information that I learned and picked up just from watching Audra and Stokes and Billy Porter, just watching them work. I miss that like hands-on learning that happens. I miss when a director believes in you enough to let you just try shit. Like George C. Wolfe really believed in me. He probably believed in me too much, but he would just and there's something that happens when a director tells you that they believe in you that is just so like affirming and freeing. And it's like, oh, well, okay, I can play and try and workshop, and just that feeling of like, I am responsible for this. Like this text, this story, it's my responsibility and obligation to help tell this story in the best way possible. And there's something that is like, it feels like it's tapped into your purpose as an artist, like especially a story like Shuffle Along that has such a history and it held such a special place in my heart because it was Black people telling a Black story about Blackness. So I just miss all those moments to really just work with people that you love and respect and learn from them and grow from them, that you just can't really feel in a Zoom room. I really do miss that.
Yeah. See, the on the opposite end of Kayla starting her question, I've known you for a bit, which is a little bit stressful. A little bit stressful because I feel like I didn't start college that long ago, but I met you while I was a freshman at Howard. Maybe months, maybe weeks before your Broadway debut in Soul Doctor as Nina Simone. But with Broadway Advocacy Coalition, you all have recently had an event with speaking about theater students. And a lot of the time we have conversations about Black students in PWIs. As an alum of one of the only HBCUs with a BFA program, what do you think can be told to Black students, no matter where they are? What do you think they can know immediately as far as studying theater and then moving into working?
I like to think of it as like, I remember Reggie Ray. Reggie Ray is one of the reasons I went to Howard because I went to a white high school. I live in Atlanta, born and raised, Black side of town, South side, church with Black people, schools with Black people, up until I went to high school. And then I went to a white high school because I was one of those dual magnet kids. I needed the math and the science and the art. And that institution was the best in Georgia. And I did not have the greatest experience, but I had been kind of like, I was in the white experience. So when it came time to go to college, I was like, I'm sorry, who goes to an HBCU? Black people? Ew. Like, I was very much like, no, I'm going to go to Northwestern. I'm going to go to University of Florida. And I took a visit to Howard, and I think something in that visit like stuck with me, on top of Reggie Ray telling my mom, send that girl to a Black school, and other being like, she sounds like an ignorant person right now, but just send her to the school and she'll figure it out. So when I got to Howard, I remember Reggie telling me, like, school doesn't give you talent. Like, you're gonna leave pretty much with what you came in with. School, he said, it's like grocery shopping. It's like, oh, okay, you pick a technique off the shelf. I might use this, I might not. Oh, okay, this is Stanislavski. I might could use this. Oh, breathing technique. It's school presents you with a bunch of different techniques that you can pick and choose and decide what you want to put in your toolbox. But who you came in it as is how you're gonna leave. So the thing about school for me was the opportunity to try, the opportunity to fail, the opportunity to network and make relationships with people. I wanted to go to Howard as a jazz vocal minor. And they were like, okay, it'll take you 6 years. And I said, no, thank you. So I spent so much time on the third floor, and I pledged SAI because I was trying to be a better musician. Anytime the kids on the third floor were doing anything, I was always up there because I wanted to learn from them. I was like, these is the real singers. So my time at Howard was like, how much can I soak up? How much can I get? I'm still mad that I left Howard without ever spending any time on the second floor. Like, I could have had a website, pictures, all them design people. They're hanging out. Stuff. I could have been
cover art.
I never went over to the school of C and did a short film. Like, I was tripping. But I want kids to understand that, first of all, school is not the end all be all. I remember students who left Howard because they were sophomores or juniors and had never been on the main stage. And I was like, that don't mean you won't be successful in your life. Like, these organizations, these institutions pick the shows that they do based on what they can afford and what students they have. It just might not be your season here. It doesn't mean that you won't go out in the world and be uber successful. I just want kids to understand that, like, school is a moment. It is not the mirror for what the rest of your life will be like. I played aunties, grandmas, cousins, and friends in Howard because I was 5'11", and I had a certain presence that most of the other people did not have. So while I was in school, I was like, damn, I'm just going to be an auntie the rest of my life. And the first show I booked out of college was playing an 18-year-old. I was like, this don't make sense. Debut, I was the romantic lead who got to kiss the boy. I was like, I never got to kiss the boy. This don't make sense. So it was just like, but I remember my spirit slightly being a little broken at Howard and not understanding that, like, school is 4 years of a very specific time and moment. That time should be you figuring out who you are, what you stand on, what your morals are. When you get out into the real world and start auditioning, the things you're going to say no to, I don't want to be naked, or I don't want to be Keisha, whatever your rules are for yourself. Me and my agents, right, we have I call it the Keisha and chicken clause. He know I don't play Keisha and I don't be on the screen eating chicken. And he knows what that means. He understands that, I mean, I can do this, but that's not what I'm trying to do. And I'm not trying to be a buffoon. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I want in my life. So I want kids to understand that there is this notion that because I'm young and starting out, I have to say yes to everything. That ain't it. There is some kind of correlation between, like, young and paying dues and abuse that we just need to eradicate right now. You can stand for something at 21 and 22. You can say no at 21 and 22. You can decide, these are the roles I want to take. This is the path I want to lay out for myself. And I'm not taking anything that will steer me away from that. So it's just an understanding that life happens immediately. You don't have to wait till you're 30 to have a voice in the community. You don't have to wait till you're 35 or have a Tony before you speak out or before you say no. Like, I just want to empower kids from a young age, no matter what you study, no matter where you are, to know that, like, your voice is valid and valuable, and trust yourself and follow your instincts. And people think because people got Tonys and they are of a certain status or stature that they are about something. It's a lot of people with Tonys who's on some bullshit. It's a lot of people who are not talented, who can't get their stuff out of a paper bag with a chainsaw. Like, just because people are out here thriving don't mean they know what the hell they're doing. So trust yourself. When you clock it, trust it. Don't be out here thinking you just have to do everything and say everything just because you're trying to establish yourself. Like, stand up for yourself from day one. Trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, like I said, I met you when I was a freshman. And ever since then, on some real Howard stuff, you know, there's the community thing. We've talked a lot about community and accountability. Like, that's one thing for sure from Reggie Ray. Accountability is going to happen. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm a clock somebody next to me if they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And then with the community, I know that Amber's been someone I could always reach out to. Like, if I had some random question or needed a random lunch and was stressed in New York, I could be like, Amber, do you want to have lunch? And she'd do it. But everyone's not so familiar. Everyone doesn't know that. Everyone hasn't seen you and shuffle along. So we want to play a game.
Okay, I'm excited.
We want to play a game. And we're going to just go through some different highlights of your career after college to the present. And for every role and show we name, we want you to give us just one word that comes to your head, and then like 5 seconds as to why that word. You ready?
I think so. Oh, Lord.
Okay. So after you graduated from the Howard University, you were HU. You were home in Atlanta for a little bit, And one of the shows you did in Atlanta before moving to New York was For Colored Girls. What's your word?
Tribulations.
We almost had to hit the buzzer on it.
Why tribulations?
To say it like a kind way to say it. I'll say tribulations because it was I started as assistant stage manager because Atlanta works more in seasons. Like all the auditions are in June, and if you miss that cutoff, like you are screwed. So I had kind of missed the cutoff, and Jasmine Guy was the director, and I did the gig, and they were like, Jasmine Guy's assistant, and I was like, first of all, I'm an actor. I don't assist anyone. And then I was like, bitch, ain't no other job. Go be her assistant. So I started, I was sitting next to Jasmine. I was picking up her child from school. I was giving people coffee, like a whole actor with a whole degree. But I didn't know that my aura, Jasmine was like, Amber, I knew from day one that you weren't nobody's assistant. She was like, there'd be times and I'd be trying to teach the girls on stage music and they be singing flat and I hear you humming under your breath the right notes because they was flat. And I was like, who is this bitch who ain't an assistant? So when the show went on the road, Jasmine was like, you're going to play Lady in Orange. And I was like, so it was tribulations to get there and a lot of this, but yeah, tribulations.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on, our next one is going to have to be your part in the off-Broadway production of Rent.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful. Oh. Okay, 5 seconds while you say that.
It was beautiful because it was my introduction to New York. It was the first big thing I booked, and it just began. That was how my career began.
Mm-hmm. And next, we're going to roll into your Broadway debut as Nina Simone in Soul Doctor.
Life-changing.
Life-changing.
Ooh, yeah. And tribulation, very hard, a lot of tears, but I mean, I am known for that role. Like, I still get work off of people who saw Soul Doctor, so even though it was a flop, it still changed my life.
Yeah, theater is everywhere, like you said, and you did a production with Shakespeare Theater Company in D.C. playing Aldonza in Man of La Mancha. What's your word?
My word is strength. Very hard show. I mean, the role alone getting gang raped by like 6 men on stage, like it but being like, that was one of my first, like, I'm a real leading lady. I got my own dressing room. They done flew me down from New York. I am somebody. And I'm in DC, where I graduated from. The kids get to come and see me. I just felt really powerful, really strong. And like I was kind of settling into myself.
Yeah. I was a kid who went to sea.
Lexi said I was there. From there, we're going to go to... of course, Peggy Mariah and Hamilton. I've seen every bootleg I can. What's your word?
My word is money. I took it for the money. I will say it out loud. I didn't care about Hamilton. I didn't really want to be in it, but I knew I would make a ridiculous amount of money, and I'd be able to take that money and invest in myself. So, money, because she made coin. Amen.
Oh, yes.
And then not too long ago, you spent some time in Cali doing Witness Uganda. And what's your word?
Heartbreak, because Darius Smith died.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so many great things happened in LA doing Witness Uganda, but that moment will always be stamped with that's when Darius died. And I will never forget, he died on a Monday, and having to do a show on Tuesday, that day was probably the hardest day of my life. I still don't know how I got through that show. But yeah, great show, but just a hard time, a very difficult time.
Definitely.
And in the pandemic, we also got an announcement that you're working on a project with one of your co-founders from Black Women on Broadway, Jocelyn Beal, and that would be Goddess. What's your word for that
upcoming project?
I need like the 3 words. That's like dream come true.
Oh, okay.
People always ask, like, what's the dream role? And my response would be like, it's the role that is created for me. It doesn't exist. And Jocelyn has always wanted to write a role for me. And I didn't audition. Like, when Jocelyn came on the team, she was like, Amber, Iman is your goddess. And these people didn't know me from a hole in the floor. They had never seen me. I never sang for them. She was just like, Amber, she's the goddess. And so to be typecast as a goddess, but just like everything about the show, everything that is going to give me the opportunity, like, to do, like, this is the shit I've been working for 8 years to finally get a chance to do. It's delayed because of Corona, but I believe it's going to come and it's going to do everything that I wanted to do for my life and my career. So dream come true.
It's going to do so much for us when we get our tickets as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely be there.
So ready.
Okay, well, I think, sadly, that is the end of our interview with you. Are there any final words, or just please let us know where we can find Broadway BAC and Black Women on Broadway and everything. Let us know everything.
I'm all over Instagram being foolish at Amber Iman _ You can follow me there. B-Way Advocacy Coalition. We are on the gram. We have a website where you can find out all the things that we're doing, how you can volunteer, how you can stay abreast of all the forums and just moments for community gathering. We have a day of healing every month. We are planning our next forum. So please just follow us and stay abreast of all of that. Black Women on Broadway on Instagram. We are announcing our writers workshop in the next day or so. And it's going to be like a limited, like 50 women only, because we want it to feel like an intimate moment. So follow us at Black Women on Broadway on Instagram. And I just also want to say shout out to y'all, two sisters doing it. You know, like, this ain't easy. Creating.
As proven by our entire day.
No, it's not easy, but we appreciate it. We appreciate it. That's why we did it, and why we called it You Good Sis. We say this all the time, but it's important for us to check in, and also for the option of the answer to that question being no to exist. So that was really important to us, and that's why we are able to show up, is because we can come to this our full selves and truthful.
And we need more of that, because it's a lot of not that in the atmosphere. Amen?
Like you said, we don't need to wait for a Broadway credit to be that.
These hoes, no.
No, we love you. We appreciate you doing this for us. It's been absolutely incredible.
Thanks, guys. This was so much fun. I'm glad I got to do it.
Thank you. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.